Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. We talk about the problems people face in their day-to-day lives. Let's start with the video.
I've known that my stepdad never really wanted me in his life. The only reason why he, who was my mom's boss at that time, and my mom got married in the first place, was due to the fact that they had gotten caught up with their affair and my mom had fallen pregnant with my stepsister. My very conservative mom did not want to raise this child being unmarried, and with her being as crazy as she was, he gave in. From what my dad says, it was a huge process. The two had to first go through a very long divorce from their spouses. He gave up on his children from his previous marriage's custody and expected my mom to give up on mine. Of course, she didn't, though. My mom was and is this master manipulator. She knew if she dared to give up on my custody, she'd be shamed by our family way more than she already was. My dad, too, by that time, had to move out of the country due to work purposes. So, with no other options in hand, I was made to move in with them. My stepdad did not like this, and he's shown it to me from the get-go. I wasn't abused or anything. I was just invisible to him. He'd pay for my food and some of my necessities when my dad wasn't able to, but for some reason, he just wouldn't acknowledge my existence and avoided contact with me as much as possible. Being as young as I was, it was very painful and hurtful, but like I mentioned earlier, what other options did I have anyways? My dad, my grandparents, and most of my other relatives being in the same work industry traveled a lot. I would barely ever get to see them already, and it was always to no avail when I tried to talk to them about my stepdad. I honestly wouldn't blame them all either, though, because they knew with my mom's stinginess and the strict laws in my state, there was absolutely no way they would be able to get my custody. So I just accepted my defeat and went about my life in the best way I possibly could. Years flew by. My stepsister and I never really developed the greatest of relationships, but we were cordial with each other, and that was honestly more than enough for me. Last month, my stepsister turned 16, and her birthday was a blast. It was an over-the-top, elaborate party with literally everyone we know invited. It had great food, great music, and honestly, everything that the 16-year-old me would have loved. Well, I had rejected having a 16th birthday party, though, because I wanted to have a great 18th party, and by looking at the way my stepsister was treated, I made the biggest mistake of expecting to be treated as well as my stepsister was. It was truly a big mistake because last week, as my 18th birthday came and went by, there were absolutely no mentions of it. No wishes, no acknowledgement, no nothing. This year, no one even bothered to get me a cake. All the gifts that I received were from my dad's side of the family and my mom's relatives. Even my stepsister, who I barely ever spoke to, made me a cute card. But I heard absolutely nothing from my stepdad and mom. Now, I may be sounding greedy, but the lack of acknowledgement was truly heartbreaking. They made that day so dull that it felt even more depressing as usual. With the look on my stepdad and mom's face, one might have said that they were probably mourning someone's death. I guess it makes sense because now that I think about it, they were preparing themselves to do this to me, and that too on my 18th birthday. They let the entire day pass like it was absolutely nothing. I had become so depressed by it all that I even canceled the party that my friends put up for me. I knew I was going to rot on the bed all day, and that's practically all I did until at about 6 in the evening my stepdad walked into my room. It was a very awkward moment. I, yet again, made the mistake to think to myself that maybe it was now that he might want to do something for me. He did, but it wasn't what I expected because he simply just handed me an envelope. Yes, a depressing white envelope that screamed nothing but legal documents. I was quite confused because after handing it to me, my stepdad just got up and left the room. I took a deep breath as curiosity started taking over me and slowly ripped off the top of the envelope, emptied it on my bed to find a letter and a $20 bill. My heart sort of sank in my stomach as I saw the $20 bill. I mean, I wasn't expecting thousands of dollars, but the fact that this is all my mom and him, after earning pretty well, had in their hearts for me was crushing, to say the least. It was then that I just knew if the $20 bill put me in such a deep thought, the letter was going to be worse. It really was. I started reading it slowly and steadily. Initially, things didn't make sense to me, but as I went on, it all clicked. It was a letter from my stepdad and mom telling me that I had time until I got into college to empty their house because they wanted to rent out my room. Tears started streaming down my cheeks. I mean, I couldn't have expected any better from them, but really, is this how low they thought of me? I felt like I was a tenant. I said, screw waiting till college. I just knew I couldn't stay in their house a moment longer. I had about 6 months more till college started and knew my contact with them was going to reduce regardless. But reading this letter just made my heart break in a completely different way. It made something in me change. I packed my bag with as many things as I possibly could take away with me and asked a friend of mine who could drive to pick me up. As I was leaving, my mom had the audacity to tell me that I didn't have to move out today, that I could take my time, and that the letter was just a gentle reminder. I was fuming at that point, so I let her know that after that letter, she'd be in luck if she even ever saw me again. That got her mad because she then followed me outside the house, berating me all throughout as I drove off with my friend. I was dropped off at my maternal grandparents, who have let me live in their house with open arms. I've been living here since the past 1 week, and honestly, this house feels more like home to me than my stepdad's place ever did. I've told everyone I can about this situation. Everyone's extremely angry at my mom, who in turn is angry at me because it was childish of me to create such a huge deal out of a small situation. I've kept my word and cut off all contact with her. I haven't engaged with her a single bit while she leaves me at least 20 texts every day. My maternal grandparents are especially mad at my mom's BS and are on the verge of cutting her off from their lives. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the only reason why she's still trying to contact me, because she and I both know if my grandparents cut her off, they'll also cut her off from the family will, and my money-hungry parents absolutely cannot bear that. They keep asking me to return home, and I really don't want to, even though living with my grandparents makes me have to travel so much daily to get to school. My parents say that I should really reconsider going back with my parents because traveling will make things hard for me, which I completely agree with. But at this stage, I'm just completely confused. I don't know if I'm right or wrong. Even if I put that aside, I don't know what my steps should be from here on. My mom and stepdad keep trying to drill it into my head that all of this is normal. And a lot of parents do this to their adult children, so I'm really not sure why it has hurt me so much. AITA? All hell broke loose as my maternal grandparents and paternal grandparents both have decided to cut contact with my mom and stepdad. A lot of my relatives have followed their route, and suddenly, my mom and stepdad both have this surprised Pikachu face as they're apparently trying to figure out what they've done wrong. Suddenly, according to my stepdad, everything they did was to teach me how adulthood hits you in the face. I can't help but laugh at it all because watching them fail after trying to miserably show that they're all good and nice is astounding to me. Their texts have turned from mean, vile, to suddenly wanting to come home so that they can give me the 18th birthday party I deserve. I've rejected almost all and every attempt of their reconciliation because I know I never was a member of their happy family to begin with to even consider reconciliation. Unfortunately, like I had said in my last post, it's not the last time I'll be seeing them. I will have to return home tomorrow to retrieve the things I've left back there to move it to a storage unit until my living situation becomes set. I'm really not looking forward to this meeting, but thankfully, I can only hope that my parents don't create a scene, since I'll be taking my dad with me there. Today, my grandparents dropped a bombshell that they'll be using the money from my mom's inheritance to pay for my accommodations and tuition fees. My mom and stepdad are not happy with it because it really isn't a small sum of money. The moment I found this out, I knew my meeting with my parents was not going to be a pleasant one, but I also knew that I had to face it one day or the other. So off I went with my dad. Everything initially was quiet and awkward as I helped the movers direct the things I wanted to take away from my room. While my dad, stepdad, and mom sat down and had this discussion. The discussion didn't take too long to turn into an argument, though, as my stepdad started blaming my dad for his downfall, referring to my dad making him lose his job after he filed a report against him having an affair with my mom. My dad just simply laughed at him and told him to get over that situation because if he wanted, he could have rebuilt his career from scratch once again, which was a fact. My stepdad did not like hearing that, and in a fit of rage, he dragged me into the argument. He revealed the true reason why he never liked me. Any guesses? Of course. It was due to the fact that I reminded him too much of my dad. Yes, this man really took out his anger on me all these years because of a resemblance. I guess at that moment, my dad and I both realized how pointless it was talking to these people. My mom tried so hard to do damage control because, of course, she was, after all, after that money. I didn't give her a chance, though, and simply just left. It felt so good to realize that I wouldn't be stepping back into that hellhole again once we drove off. My things are kept in a storage unit currently as we're finding a place that is close to my school and will allow me to travel easily until school starts back up. It's very hectic, but I know that when life starts to take a positive turn, the beginning is always tough. I don't think there's going to be a lot of update after this, so I'll be posting a final update eventually. Here's a final update. I was able to move into my dad's friend's spare apartment, which was super close to my school, until it ended. The summer after that went amazingly well because I had an entire house all to myself. It was really a good experience as it sort of gave me an overlook into how living alone would look. Even though I would have loved and preferred to live with my grandparents, the only reason why I couldn't was because of their health issues and the distance between my school and their house. My dad has started to visit me every month during the weekends, and we've started to take therapy together. This has helped us to understand a lot how distant we were from each other and how much we really need to improve in communication. As for my mom and stepdad, they're still under this feud with my grandparents about the inheritance, and I still, much like everyone else, am wondering why they kicked me out of the house when they knew this would be the outcome. Well, it's not like I can expect any better from delusional people like them, LOL. Although initially I was sad about everything that happened, I'm now just glad I'm as far away as I possibly can be from them. It truly has helped me tremendously with my mental health. Thank you all for your supportive comments. NTA, but the rest of your family is. What were they doing all along while you were suffering so much? Why is it only now they decided to open their eyes and cut off your mom? It was truly saddening to read how OP got sandwiched between the inability of the adults of this house to take care of them. Regardless, at this point, I'm just glad that you're not living with your parents anymore. NTA, the stepdad and mom are both crazy. I mean, what else did they expect? For your maternal grandparents to give them an award for kicking you out of their house? SMH. I'm just glad you're safe and happy now, OP. This past weekend, we attended my husband's cousin's wedding. It was in the same state, but not near where we live, so we stayed at a hotel near the venue. This hotel has a beautiful fountain out in the front, and while we were waiting for our vehicle to be brought around, we had a bellman take our picture in front of the fountain. Neither my husband nor myself were part of the wedding party. We were simply guests at the wedding. Husband was dressed in a suit and tie, and I was in a burgundy cocktail dress. The bride and groom did request that no one take pictures during the ceremony or the reception. We both honored this request. In fact, we took no pictures at the venue at all. I noticed several people taking photos at the venue before the ceremony and between the ceremony and reception. The following day, I shared the photo on social media of my husband and myself taken at our hotel before we went to the wedding. I did not mention the wedding or use the wedding hashtag or anything. There have been several people posting photos on social media taken at the venue and using the wedding hashtag and even tagging the bride and groom. My husband's aunt has texted me asking me to remove the photo because we are wearing what we wore to the wedding in the photo, and her daughter, the bride, wants to share the first wedding photos. I said I didn't see a problem because our photo was not taken at the venue and was not linked to the wedding or the bride and groom. And besides, there are dozens of other photos that were taken at the venue and tagged with the wedding or the bride and groom, including the bride's own brother who was in the wedding party, and he has posted at least a dozen photos. Aunt says she is trying to get them all taken down, but she doesn't even know everyone who has posted photos. So, AITA for not removing the photo of us before we went to the wedding? The stepfather of the bride contacted me late today. The bride doesn't want my photo removed. Apparently the aunt, MOB, best friend, took photos of the bride and bridesmaids before the wedding in their dresses and posted them on SM. Members of the bridal party distracted her and gained access to her phone during the reception. They deleted the photos not just from her SM account, but from her phone. She was upset, and she insisted that Aunt MOB make everyone else remove any photos they had posted. Aunt MOB felt pressured by her friend and began contacting people. She ended having a major anxiety attack and ended up in urgent care this evening. Aunt MOB has now cut contact with friend, and friends and family have been told they are free to post selfies and similar photos from the wedding, but asked not to post photos of the bride and groom. NTA, I can see that they wanted to be the first ones, but as you stated, it's not at the venue per their demands, so I don't see a problem with you posting a picture you took before the wedding. My older brother was married briefly, and it didn't work out. He recently remarried. She's 22, he's 33. She's very pretty, but very young. She comes off as younger than she is in her attitude. She also doesn't seem unintelligent per se, but she has a high school education and has never worked a day in her life, and doesn't seem that interested in personal growth, education. She and my brother's explicit plan is to start having kids as soon as possible, ideally 3 to 4. She is right now a stay-at-home wife and will be a stay-at-home mom. They're already trying to get pregnant. My brother and I both inherited a nest egg when our dad passed away a decade ago, and our mom is well off too. and he makes large salary personally. He has several properties and a full-time housekeeper. I don't have a problem with her or with him, though I do think the maturity level seems like it would be an issue. I'm only 26, and due to this age difference, I've always had trouble relating to my brother as an equal. He can be patronizing, etc. At best, 22-year-old is equally mature to me, but realistically a bit less mature, since she's 4 years younger. So if my brother and I can't always relate as equals, it's hard to imagine her and him relating as equals. But like I said, she's not far from my age, so to me, she's more of a peer, and I don't dislike her. She's fun, and I'm not working right now either. Because like I said, I have money from my parents and a small business on the side. I do recognize it's a privilege to not have to work right now. So we've been hanging out sometimes during the weekdays, like grabbing coffee or going to the gym. I was at their house after going to the gym with her, and my brother was there. While she was grabbing something from another room, my brother took a shot at me for being unemployed and being able to just go to the gym for hours in the middle of the workday. I said we're both going to the gym in the middle of a weekday. Your wife is unemployed too. He said that's different. And I said, don't take shots at me for not working if you have a trophy wife doing the same. He got really offended and yelled at me, but in the process of him being offended, his wife heard what I said. Or maybe she overheard my comment, I'm not sure. She was upset too. But am I wrong for calling a spade a spade? ESH, except maybe her. It sounds like you're trying to be friendly with her, then just insulting her. You like her enough to hang out with her, so don't be crummy to her. Your brother deserved a clapback, but not one at her expense.